Okay, morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session. This is the Etiquette of Teams panel session with Grey Hat, Beard, and guests. So we've got Alan, Gary, Kevin, Carolina, Luis, and Margin. Sorry, I've pronounced that wrong, Margin. Who are going to go through this session today. I'll sit in the background here, but I'll let the team go through and take over. So go for it, guys and girls, go.
Thank you very much. So yes, as Martin just said, welcome to the Etiquette of Teams. This is hosted by the Grey Hat Beard podcast. You can find us by searching for Grey Hat Beard. We talk about modern workplace and the Microsoft 365 world and cover all sorts of topics, including earlier this year, we had a session with Moraine, who joined the usual crew of Alan the Hat, Gary the Beard, and myself, Kevin the Grey, to talk about the etiquette of Microsoft 365 and how it was about the right things to do so you can be more effective together. And we thought it'd be great to bring some of that to you, except this time we brought some guests. So we also have Louise and Carolina, who's joined us, as well as Moraine, and we'll kick off a panel session. The way it works is we'll have 3 questions and each speaker will get 90 seconds to share their favourite thoughts on each topic. If you've ever seen the BBC or heard the BBC 5 Live show Fighting Talk, it's going to be a little bit like that. And I'm going to host and award points using a little app I've got here. And let me just share that across. Find that quickly now, so you should be able to see an app. I'm not going to share this during things because I don't want to embarrass people with the scores, but you'll see as I go along, every time someone makes a good point, you'll hear a nice to-do ding. And if they make something that I don't quite agree with or we all think's a bit nasty, then they'll lose a point as well. If I make a really great point, then you'll hear a but it's not going to be too competitive. This is more like one of those panel shows where everyone has a good natter and we share some of the great things going on. So don't worry too much about the points, but it will bring a bit of fun to it. First, we're going to introduce everyone, and you'll see a little countdown in the corner. We've got 30 seconds just to say hello. So I'll kick off. My name's Kevin McDonnell. I'm a solutions architect at CPS, a gold partner of the UK. As I mentioned, a co-host of the Grey Hat Beard podcast. I spent 15 years in financial services working across various different teams. A lot of time spent on SharePoint, and I've been stretching that as a developer. I've run farms for a 30,000 seat organization. I've been a project manager. You could say I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. Been covering there, and just ignore the badger for now. Next up, we have Al. So Al, you've got 30 seconds to introduce yourself. Over to you.
Great. So my name's Alan Erdley. I'm head of modern workplace at CPS. I also run the London Power Platform user group and regularly speak on Grey Hat Beard. I've been doing SharePoint for a very long time, far longer than I like to admit. I've also done the pro-side change and adoption piece, so really focusing on how clients adopt, use all of the Microsoft 365 stack, and I really like productivity.
Thank you very much for finishing perfectly on the 30 seconds there. Next up, we have Gary. Are you ready? And over to you.
So hi everyone, my name is Gary Trinder, Solutions Architect at CPS. I am the Beard of Grey Hat Beard. I'm also an Office Development MVP and a member of the Patterns and Practices team, maintaining the Office 365 CLI tool, which you can use to help manage all of your settings in your tenant, no matter what platform you're on, including Teams as well. So please do check it out.
And on 30 seconds perfectly as well, the countdown working to stop us waffling too much. Next up, we have Carolina. So are you ready? Over to you, 30 seconds.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Carolina. I'm from Finland, and I'm focusing on Teams user adoption. So I'm a Office Apps and Services MVP, and I also got the ProSci Change Management certification. My timer doesn't go down, so I can talk as long as I want.
No, it goes down at 10 seconds, bits like that. If you finish early, let me know.
Oh no, I will use all of my time. So I've done SharePoint and teamwork for the past 9 to 10 years, and of course Teams ever since it came 3 years ago. Awesome to be here today.
Thank you very much, and apologies, my son has decided now is exactly the time to come and start printing things. So thank you very much. Next up, we have Louise. Over to you, 30 seconds.
Hi, so I'm Louise. Very obviously, the slide is wrong. I'm a Microsoft 365 consultant, happy for Office apps and services. And I asked other people how you would describe me. They said you're badass by default and you're a princess. So I registered a domain, which is called m365princess.com. I love Teams, I love low-code development, and stickers at Lego. And I finished early. Kevin, we can't hear you.
It'll teach me to mute and forget my son there. And I should remember that I have a Teams certified device, so I can easily press the button there, which would be the clever thing to do. Last and by no means least, we have Moraine. 30 seconds, over to you.
Well, yes, that's me. Been doing SharePoint for way too long as well. These days, I'm just trying to be a productivity coach, try to help organizations work better with Office 365. I have a podcast with Steve Dolby called Office 365 Distilled, where we drink whiskey mainly. And with UC Mori, I have a YouTube series called Blame the End User, where we try to blame everything on the end users.
Thank you very much. And the first one that tried to sneak over the end there, but no, we have the big red light to carry on. It's like getting the orchestra at the Oscars. But we're going to crack on and try and get through as much as possible so we can answer a few questions later. As I mentioned, we're going to have 3 questions. So we're going to kick off with question 1, and everyone has 90 seconds to talk about their preferred subject. So the first question is, what activity should take place in Teams that doesn't happen often enough? And our first one stepping up will be Carolina. So as soon as you're ready, let's kick off, and over to you.
Awesome. So I thought about this for a bit, and I think having a channel meetings instead of normal Teams meetings, or I don't know, 2 meetings, if anyone does 2 meetings nowadays. So maybe you should have channel meetings more than just normal team meetings, because if you have a team context for the meeting, you should do a channel meeting. And this is actually something quite new. I just came up with this idea this spring, and before I maybe had a little bit different kind of approach to channel meetings, but now I think they are super awesome, because if you have a team, then you have a context. So you're able to gather all of your conversations, all of your files, all of your tasks under one place, so under one hood. So why not to team meetings as well? So you can create, of course, a new channel for recurring daily meetings or weekly meetings, or then you can just utilize the general channel or some other channel in your team for the channel meeting. Of course, if you want, you can also invite special guest stars in your channel meetings, but then you just have to know that the guest stars won't see the meeting chat or anything you share in the meeting chat as well. So pro tip, also in here, do not use the meeting notes. Even if you are having a channel meeting, always use the team OneNote for the meeting memos. But the activity tip for here is to use channel meetings if you have a team and a context.
Now, that appeared to be the longest 10 seconds in the world. So I think that's probably has been about 90 seconds. I think some fantastic points there talking about team meetings. Ignore the timer. I hope it's going to behave a little bit better. I do have a backup timer I'm running here at the same time. Al, what activity should take place in Teams that doesn't happen often enough?
So for me, I think the status message. So I don't know whether people are aware that you can actually go up and you can click on the picture of you in the top right hand corner, and you can actually set a status message in there. And I think it's useful because it sets expectations about maybe if you're busy, if you're focusing, if you've got do not disturb on, then you can set expectation about when you might respond. But the other thing that I found it really useful for, and I've picked this up from a few people who are using this in this way, is, you know, when people just kind of go hi and they just leave that hanging. Some people love it, some people hate it. But you can actually put the status message in and say hi, just ask your question, and then I will answer. Or you can say, just say hi, I will respond when I can get back to you. So I think if you set the status message, you can really manage how you want people to interact with you. And especially, you know, so after this, I'm going to be focusing on trying to get work done. So I'm going to set the status message and I'm going to say, I'm focusing on getting work done. I will get back to you as and when I check it, but I'm not going to have Teams on and I'm not necessarily going to be looking at it all of the time. So I think it's really important to make sure that people know how to engage with you effectively, and make sure that they know when you might get back to them, because we all expect Teams to be quite an instant way of communicating these days.
And that is about 90 seconds. Apologies, it's always good to do these tests and then find they don't work out afterwards. But some great points there. Thank you, Al. Moraine, you're up next. Ready with 90 seconds and go.
All right. So my customers are mainly smaller organizations, so like 50, 100 people. So what I really think is that because everyone is now changing into Teams, that we should use Teams much more than just the basic things. So everybody with COVID, we all got digital transformation into Teams because of COVID. So I think we're ready for a next step, and that would be, for example, to show the company news, to show your intranet, to show these things on Teams as well. So I think that is definitely something that we're, as organizations, that we're ready for that to go to.
Sorry, you've got about 40 seconds if you do want to carry on a bit.
Oh, well, no, that's okay. Yeah, that's my point.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
That doesn't happen a lot.
I was going to say, you caught me by surprise slightly on that one. Next up, we have Louise. Now, just before you start, I'm going to take off some points from you because I gave you some points to test on there. So just ignore those points disappearing. They're not any you've they're not negative ones before you start. Don't worry.
Okay.
So let's get ready with 90 seconds and go.
Okay, so in my opinion, it's metadata. So I can't stress this enough. So I love, yes, thank you. So I love metadata in SharePoint, and of course, I love to bring that into Teams as well, just because people try to transform their old working habits, just like working with file servers into a newer environment, and this does not make any change. It just makes it more purple or blurple, which is the official Teams color. So we should enable users to deal with metadata, to filter data, to use views, to access more easily the information that they were looking for, instead of working in subfolders and more cascading subfolders in which kittens will die. So usually it's just like, yeah. So this is this is what happens. So just imagine I have a folder called Death Star, a folder called Presentations, and a folder called Drafts. And if I have a PPTX file, which is not ready at the moment, and it belongs to my project Death Star, you will all have a different opinion on where to put this file in. And this is just not good because it leads to searching and not finding stuff and confusion. And if we just say, hey, this is an attribute and not a place, because it's a digital thing and not a physical thing, just like your bottle of beer or your cup of coffee, then we can transform users' behavior. But this is really crucial, and users need to learn that, and it's our responsibility to educate them.
And that's about time up. So it looks like, having tested this spreadsheet many times last night, it's not working. So when you're listening, when it hits to 80, that's 10 seconds left. So we'll have to go on for there. But thank you, Carolina. I can't believe I awarded a point for you talking about kittens dying. I may suffer for that in my next life. But let's carry on to the next one. Gary, last but no means least, what activity should take place in Teams that doesn't happen often enough?
So, yeah, this is an activity really more of a team owner activity, and this is channel moderation. So we've all joined teams in the past where you get into a team and everyone is working in general, and there's just a whole host of messages and you can't find things, you can't have a conversation easily. So use the channel moderation. Lock down general to only a few people, use it for announcements. That'll help people move into other channels. Have a channel for feedback or a place where people can just chat about the weather and what happened at the weekend. And that will really help your usage of your team, and it will give people specific areas of where they can go and they can communicate. You'll find that your conversations will get much better. And it's one of those things that it's dead simple to do. It's a very quick option, but as an owner of a team, you need to be thinking, what can I do to set up my team so I can promote good communication and good communication in the places where it needs to be as well. So yeah, just use the channel moderation and stop working in general all the time.
Thank you very much. And that was the last for the first round of questions. So now we're going to have just about 2.5 minutes where we can all have a bit of a natter together and say what you think. So what did everyone think of everyone else's updates there?
I thought they were really good. Lots of little nuggets. I noticed people are putting comments in around the brilliance of metadata, which is always nice to hear. It's underused these days.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's be interesting to see where that comes to within teams and how well that works together, where it will start to be built in the same way that we have within SharePoint, especially with Project Cortex coming up, and we see more of that.
And I really love the status message tip. So it's super easy to use, and then it's very informative. So good one.
Yeah, I think much underused. And I wasn't really aware of it until Al mentioned it, but a really good tip for people to use and put on there. Martin says some Greta tips. I don't know if that's about being more environmentally friendly with teams, but
I think the status messages they've been really great for me recently. Being able to just kind of push back to people and stop that instant reply kind of culture that we can almost kind of gain from teams. Yes, it's good that you're able to contact people immediately, but it's not always convenient for that person to be able to respond straight away. So using the status messages, no hello, which I've just put a link in the chat about, be a bit more direct, ask that person a question, and then it makes it easier for that person to then respond. It might be a one-liner, but if you're busy and you get into a full conversation, you can think, oh God, leave me alone. I want to do some work. I don't understand the value of your question because you've not asked one. So that's really, really useful.
So I'm living the dream of being external consultant. So I'm constantly switching between all the tenants, and my status message is as mention me, because otherwise I won't get it. So because I'm constantly switching between all those tenants, my list of tenants is not that long, and this is really helpful because otherwise I end up with getting emails which try to get me into Teams again. So and I don't want that. And educating my customers, hey, if you want something from me, you really need to mention me, because most of the time I won't be in your tenant.
I think the app mention is really valuable as well.
Yep.
You have to mention either people or the channel. Don't mention the whole team, people or the channel.
Never. This should not be an option anymore.
No, because then kittens will die as well. Absolutely.
You will kill baby unicorns with that.
Oh no.
Oh no. So now we got it.
I'm going to give you a bonus for that one.
So sorry, do you get more points for mentioning killing things? Is that the way this is going? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, and now I can see in the chat that Yannick is already spoiling what happens in the next tip.
I was going to say we should probably move on to the next question before we give away all our tips and things for this one. So we'll move on to question 2. And question 2 will be, what annoys you most that people do in teams? So we're not going to attack any individuals, hopefully, in this one, but just picking up those things that maybe you should think about if you're doing, and let's see if we can not do those. And to kick off this round, it'll be Moraine. So 90 seconds. Over to you.
All right. What I had with a number of customers happening was they moved into Teams to do their meetings, to do all their their daily town halls and stuff like that. And as I said, I've been working with smaller companies before. And what we would see happen was that when we had a daily town hall meeting, afterwards, people would still be in the chat, talking to each other. And 3 weeks after that, they would still be in that chat, chatting to each other. So yeah, that wasn't really helpful, because that chat would still be alive even weeks and months afterwards. And that was being used for the daily hello, good morning, everyone, and congratulations on your birthday. And that was all happening in that chat, in that meeting chat, instead of in a channel where we would have all the correct things in place. So that definitely annoyed me, because then I had to talk to those people saying, okay, you need to do this in a channel, and then nobody could understand what or why or how, and yeah, those things.
I'm 100% with you there. And I think also you find that when you leave it, suddenly everyone starts having the useful conversation as well. So really good point there. Next up, we have Louise. Are you ready for your 90 seconds?
Of
Let's go.
Born ready. So I think people are confusing a chat with task management. So in the old days, they were writing emails like, hey, Carolina, could you please finalize this presentation for me and then attach this file? And nowadays, they just do the same thing in a chat, and it doesn't make it any better. So I can't keep track on those tasks that I get in chat messages or in email messages. So we need to have a proper task management system, which could be a planner board, for instance. It doesn't need to be a planner, but it needs to be a system in which I can keep track of my tasks. So if Carolina asked me, hey, Louise, could you please finalize this presentation for me? I will now ask her, yeah, but can you please assign a task in Planner to me, or I need to do this on my own. And this is just like working to be busy instead of adding value in a meaningful way, and busy and productive. So we really need to get rid of that, and we need to use the proper tools for the right use cases. And please never assign tasks by asking people, hey, could you please do that for me? Because it's not a question, it's a task.
Absolutely, completely agree with those. I'll chat more about that. So it's very hard being the host and not wanting to get involved in this. So we'll chat more on that at the end. Next up, we have Gary. Are you ready for your 90 seconds? And over to you, Gary.
So really simple one. When people start a new conversation with no subject line, it really annoys me because one, it's incredibly simple to do. The Teams interface does hide it away from you, fair enough, but it's one click, you get a subject line, you can start your conversation, and that subject line gives you context as to what that conversation is about. So I always think of this is like sending an email. Would you send an email with no subject line? No. That subject line is there to provide the context of the conversations that are happening. So if you do that in Teams, that gives you a pointer to either search for later on. So you've had a conversation, you know what it was about. Your subject line gives you that extra metadata to search on, but it also gives you some kind of history. So those conversations can kind of keep going as well, because you've got somewhere to go back to within the context of your subject to carry on conversations. And what you'll find is over time, there'll be a whole history of conversations around that particular subject, and that would be invaluable to people joining the team later on, because they'll be able to see that. This is not email, it's not hidden away, it's visible in the team. So group things together by using the subject lines in the conversations, and everyone will benefit, and no kittens will die or unicorns will die. I hope that gets me points.
I'll give you one extra point for the shameless attempts to get an extra point on that one, but that's not going to work every time, I promise. Right. As I say, there's pretty random nature to these points. Next up, we have Carolina. Ready, and 90 seconds for you.
Awesome. So what annoys me the most is actually when people are discussing and working in private chats and creating private channels instead of doing actually teamwork in teams. I think this is also a bit same that Mariah said about using the meeting chat as a place for discussion after the meeting, because it's not a place for doing teamwork. And as we all know, hopefully, Teams is the hub for teamwork. And knowledge is not gold anymore, but shared knowledge is. Sharing is caring. Am I right? Yeah. So Teams built around Teams, and we are used to chatting, like in Skype. It's familiar, but we also have to be critical against our own thinking and our old ways of working. And we can't work with those old-fashioned ways with our new, shiny, cool tools. So once again, when we have all of those files, folders, discussions, tasks in one place, in our one team, my job is easy. And no one wants to make their job hard, I think. So you do teamwork in teams.
Absolutely. And I'm afraid you did lose 1 point there just for mentioning Skype on that, and bring us all down and think about the bad old days. So otherwise, absolutely agree with those ones. That was some great points there. Next up, Al, what annoys you most in Teams? Go. One of the things, is this part of your talk? Is it annoys you when people leave things on mute? Right. Okay.
No, it's Teams buttons. Yes. So one of the things that annoys me most is people responding to conversations by starting a new conversation. And it kind of ties into Gary's point of you lose the title, but you really want everything to be in one conversation with a title so that people are actually responding to it. One conversation chain. At least that way it doesn't have the risk of going down the old email route where you kind of send a message and then somebody else sends a different message to a different set of people and doesn't keep with the chain. You get a cohesive conversation taking place, which actually reads sensibly rather than having to have all of those branches that go off. So yeah, make sure that every time you go in to respond, scroll all the way down. Just make sure you scroll all the way down, because it's very easy just to put that response in where it's actually a new message rather than responding. And I think they are introducing a button to say new conversation rather than actually just responding all the time, which will hopefully make sure that this issue goes away completely. But I think it's one of the things that really causes challenges at the moment. The number of times people have to go back in, they have to edit it, delete it, and then put the message back in where it should be.
Absolutely agree. Although I'm going to take a point off you for not making more comedy about being on mute at the beginning there.
Oh, well, and I didn't mention dead things either.
And no dead things, yeah, so you don't get any bonus points either for that one. Thank you. So that was the last of the rounds for question 2. Any thoughts on what others said during that?
So many thoughts. Yeah. So the chat has kind of exploded about the Louise, you've said basically the to-do integration should be there native in Teams for, creating tasks for what you were saying in your annoyance answer, if you like. And that is exact. I've just literally had that issue. I've just come back off 2 weeks of leave. My inbox is completely full, but I have a way of I can flag emails. I can get them into to-do quite easily. Teams, on the other hand, where I've been added into different messages and conversations, it's really difficult to track what I've, who's asked me what, do I need to do something? Have I got something actionable? And it's really, really difficult. So having something like that native would be brilliant. But like Yannick's just pointed out, there's now Power Automate flows and APIs available that you can actually create that yourself. But I think
I love to automate my stuff. I really do. But still, we need to educate users how to use the tools. And we won't fix that issue with every automation and with any feature of the world. So I always agree on a collaboration contract with my users. Just like, hey, we will use Blender for assigning tasks to each other, and we don't use the chat. And then we agree on that, and then we use Planner to do that. Or perhaps we use another tool, but we're not putting tasks into To-Do and into Planner and into a chat and into a notebook and using just like a gazillion of tools, and then it's my task to search them. So this is not going to happen.
I love that notion of a collaboration contract. I think it's a great idea and great phrase to make people think about that. The other thing I'd love to see for tasks and for teams is now we have Cortana in email, and it can identify tasks and say, is this a task? It'd be amazing to see that start to appear in Teams and make it a lot easier to do that as well.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good one. Just be able to identify that actually somebody's talking about a task, and just to prompt them and go, should this be in Planner or should this be in To-Do, and be able to push it through. But I think Louise is right. Where you put tasks, you need to make sure people understand that it should be in Planner if it's related to a collaborative project. It should be, if it's personal, it should be in To-Do. That way, at least it's all in one place, and everybody knows where to look to see those tasks that everybody's collaborating on. Because otherwise, the number of emails that you get, and it's the Cortana briefing is great, but it does pick up on all of those phrases that says, is this a task? Yes or no? And is it done? It would be nice if that went into To-Do as well.
Yeah, plus I want swipe right, reply, swipe left, this is a task, or just let users define their actions, like you have this in Outlook Mobile. So in Outlook Mobile, you can define what should happen if I swipe right or swipe left, and perhaps you're familiar to that UI as well.
Right, I think we're going to move on to the final question now, and as I say, we will stick around for a little bit afterwards to continue the chat on there, but we need to make sure we stick to time and the recordings don't go over. So on to question 3, and question 3 is, what is your favorite tip for using Teams? And first up this time we have Gary. Over to you.
So I guess my favorite tip is more of a behavioral tip more than anything else, about changing how you work to get the best out of the tool. So one of the things that I always try and help people with is to think of working out loud. So you're in a team, you are working on a project. It's very easy to almost document what you've been doing. Put a conversation in there, even reply to yourself, have a conversation with yourself. That is building up knowledge that other people will benefit from. And you don't actually have to go and, say, oh, did you see this? Or you've sent an email to someone. Have you seen that email? No, because I've had hundreds of emails. But you put that into a chat, put the same information into a channel. People can see it and can consume it over time, and they can see the history and they can see what actually has been happening. I think most people like to see a team that's busy and it's active. And that is one way of how you can make it active. And again, think about people who are not in your team at the moment. Think about people who join later on in the team who will benefit from that information and benefit from, the work that you have done. Issues that you've faced, things that have worked. They will then be able to read that and get better context and understand the area of work that you're in. So I think that's one of the key things. It's changing your behavior. You'll get the most out of the team. Don't just apply the same rules as what you did in email, because you'll end up in the same place.
Absolutely, that's a great point. I'm just going to award one bonus point to Al for having a channel with no chat. I think he's I'm not sure you should have too much of that into a channel, but great points from Gary.
Is that a comment on my conversation?
Yeah, and typos. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll come to that tip in a minute. But Carolina, up next, over to you.
Okay, cool. So actually, my favorite tip for using Teams would be just use Teams. But I would say that use search to find stuff. And I know there is like this huge search bar on the top of your Teams, and it actually works. Because I've done quite many internet projects in my past, and then the people are always saying the SharePoint search doesn't find anything. Okay, I know, but it's this old SharePoint search. Now we have this modern, cool MS search, and it works also in Teams. Okay, it's maybe not Google, but it's getting there. And don't even try to search files in Teams like the old way, like you're clicking on folder opportunities, you're clicking on folder sales, folder 2020, folder week 14, folder Monday, folder 9 a.m. That's like the way the kittens and baby unicorns and all cute stuff die. Just hit the search bar in Teams, and you can also use filters in your search. You can filter by writer, by type, and so on. And the coolest new thing in Team search is the contextual search. So you can search, for example, inside of a channel. While you are in channel, just hit the Control and F, or with a Mac, it's Command and F, and then you have the familiar contextual search. Use it.
Fantastic, thank you. I took a couple of points off there. One just, I'm afraid search in Teams is rubbish at the moment. When Microsoft Search comes, absolutely agree. But we'll discuss that a little bit more at the end. So next up we have Louise, and let's hope we haven't got too many more dead animals coming. Over to you, Louise.
No dead animals with this tab. So I don't know how you feel about that, but my proofreading skills improved by at least 200% after I hit the send button. So yeah, so therefore the arrow up key is the most important key when using Teams. And once you mastered that, you can proceed to Control-Shift-M, which mutes or unmutes you.
Ah, that's interesting.
That's it.
Fantastic.
So I thought about making a light box. Sorry, I was on mute.
I think it's worth noting, as I know we've been tried to make sure that we use Team certified devices during Commsverse, and if you have a Team certified device, you have a nice big mute button on your device there, so always helpful, and you can carry on and keep chatting afterwards. So a nice one to talk about there. Thanks, Louise. Next up we have Al. Are you ready for your 90 seconds, and go?
So I love the mobile app. I think the mobile app for Teams is great. You know, you don't have to have it open everywhere. And in particular, if you are working with multiple tenants, you can always have your home tenant open on your mobile device. So you can always interact, you can have calls, you can join meetings, you can even see the screen shares and everything, and share your own screen on the phone. So there's so much that you can do with a mobile device, and because it interacts with the other native apps on your phone, so it interacts with Planner, with SharePoint, all of those tools that are on your phone, you get a great experience on it. So I think a lot of people don't use it to the extent that it can be used on the mobile device, especially if you are focusing, you have everything turned off on your machine. You know, you can just check quickly, you know, if you're running Pomodoros, that 5 minutes, you can just check on your mobile device without having to fire everything up and then close it all down again. So yeah, that's my tip, is mobile device. Use Teams mobile.
Fantastic, thank you. And you get bonus points for giving Moraine an opportunity to talk about his talk tomorrow as well. So next up, and to finish up the questions, we have Moraine. What's your favorite tip for using Teams?
So yeah, definitely the mobile app. Come to my session tomorrow morning, very, very early, of course. But no.
No app, please.
Well, no, my favorite tip, because that's, for me, that's the first question when you talk about etiquette, is when are you gonna use what tool when? It's just like we already talked about with tasks and stuff like that. So within your company, discuss when are you going to use Teams and what are the channels that you want to communicate on. So for example, what you can do in your Teams application is with Power Apps, for example, add extra solutions in there so that people don't have to go to the intranet or don't have to go to that tool or this place or that place. Also add, if you're using Yammer, add the Yammer Communities app in there. Add your intranet as a page on Teams. So build Teams as your whole all-encompassing solution, maybe. So that's something that you need to discuss with your organizations. So I think that's definitely, that's my favorite tip.
Absolutely. I think Teams as a central hub is just so critical, and where the benefit comes, you know, we can talk about other systems that do that can do voice chats, that can do video and things like that, but Teams is that hub that allows you to pull together everything.
Sure.
So I want to pull back on the first tips, talking about search, to make sure I'm not being unfair to Carolina. But my view on search in Teams at the moment is that it's absolutely awful and really hard to actually use things there. I think Microsoft Search is great, that ability in the SharePoint to find everything. When that comes to Teams, having that bar there will be ideal. But at the moment, I still find it too hard to find things. So it had exactly this yesterday, was trying to find something Al had sent through, and it just wasn't showing up in search at all.
Yeah, but actually I have to say that I had one Champions Network with one of my customers, and we had this like end of the year meeting, and then one of the champions in there, he or she stood up and he said that I'm so grateful for the Teams search. It works perfectly and I can find everything in Teams. And I was like, okay, that's a good thing. But someone likes it, yeah.
I think the new context search is certainly helping, but it does need that full Microsoft search capability in there to find documents, because that's, I think, where it's really suffering at the moment.
I think Teams would definitely benefit from kind of like the Outlook search. The Outlook search is great. If it can get anywhere near there where you can, you know, go by subject line, a particular date, just to return those, give a few more extra filter options, then it would definitely make it a bit more useful, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, like, when you're looking for people or conversation, I don't know if any of you had any experience with the Who bot, because I just love that Who bot. I can just ask, like, who was it in the company that I had this discussion about topic X about, and then it will just give me that name again, and awesome.
Yeah, Who bot is underused, certainly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Bots across the board, I think, are underused, but as Al and Gary know, I'm slightly obsessed with bots, and always like to bring those up. But I think more bots would certainly help things and add that intelligence into that. You know, we're talking about Cortana and adding tasks in there, having things be able to analyze what you're saying and give you useful stuff based on that. I think it's really helpful. Don't do work when you don't have to is my definite motto. Might take that too far occasionally.
Yeah, don't tell your customers that.
Yeah, exactly.
As I said, busy ain't productive. We need to learn to distinguish between being busy and adding value in a meaningful way.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
One
of my favorites.
Work smarter, not harder.
One of my favorite books is The Lazy Project Manager, and it basically said, I'm naturally lazy, so when I do work, I want to do it effectively. And
I'm lazy as fuck.
Agree. Yeah, exactly. do things properly. Right, I think we're getting near to wrapping up, so that means I need to go through and work out who the two finalists are. And slightly embarrassed to say that the killing of kittens has pushed Louise into one of the finalist spots. And we also have the Hat of Grey Hat Beard as the other finalist. So Al and Louise are going to go into our final round, which is Defend the Indefensible. So this time, instead of getting good tips, they have 30 seconds to I'm going to pick a phrase, another comment, and they have to spend 30 seconds defending that. So I think we're going to have Al up first. Let's go in alphabetical order.
Ladies first.
Oh, ladies first. Okay, I will go with that one. I was actually being nice and giving you a chance to not go first, but we'll go with lady first then, since the enthusiasm. I like enthusiasm. You might not like me any second now. When you have 30 seconds, and I'll just bring up. It's not going to let me stop, so I'm going to have to zoom through quickly. And you have 30 seconds on Zoom is better. Are you ready?
Born ready.
Go on then and go.
Okay, no one ever cared about data security. And we absolutely need this beautifier filter, like we have this on Instagram, which is on by default in Zoom and not in Teams. Plus this 7x7, which Teams is about to roll out, but it's not there yet. So it's just promised, at least on my tenants. And so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Brilliant. Supporting Zoom, saying how much Louise loves it there. Right. And let's pick one for Al. Let's see. I should say to people, Al is my boss, so I should be nice to him. But I never actually am.
That doesn't count at the moment. No.
Absolutely. So let's go with, I think, all channels should be private channels. Over to you, Al, for 30 seconds and go.
I never want other people to know what I'm saying about people, so everything should be private, shouldn't it? I mean, you shouldn't be able to share any content with other people because, quite frankly, they might change what you've written. And let's face it, what you write is always going to be better. So everything should be in a private channel. Keep it separate. You have control of it. Nobody else can see it. It's secure, it's safe, it's yours. Keep it in a private channel.
Fantastic. Some absolutely solid advice there from Al and Louise. Now, I have the hard task of working which one of those was better or worse, I guess. I'm not sure which way around to call it. So I'm going to jump through these. And I think, oops, I'll come back to lack of control on that. I think the winner I'm going to choose for this one is Louise. I think you back Zoom, you talked about data and things like that. Just slightly nudged out Al on that one, but thank you very much. Even with the dead kittens, took you through this. So well done for our first Grey Hat Beard panel session and winning on that one. But I'd like to thank all of you and also those who've joined in the chat. I think really it's been about everyone joining, having a chat, having a think about what is the etiquette, what is it that you should be doing in Teams, what is the right thing to do. I'm going to take a pause and just thank all of our sponsors. I know many of you will be seeing this slide an awful lot, but this event doesn't happen without those sponsors. Go and have a chat to them in the booths. Many of them are sat at home, probably bored, and want to go and listen to, have some good questions with them, go and find out about the devices, go and find out about the different products that are out there. It would just make you think next time and know what's available. You'd go and have a wander around a conference hall. So go and do the same thing there. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. We hope you learned something. As I say, we're going to be sticking, I hope Martin will jump in if I'm wrong here, but we're sitting in this meeting as the breakout. So if anyone wants to bring up any of the comments of things we've said or just wants to chat about any of the subjects, then stick around here. We'll be around a little bit. Otherwise, thank you very much. We've been Grey Hat Beard and guests. Really hope you enjoy the rest of Comsverse. Keep an eye out for our guests. We've got a few more speaking sessions coming up, so do join us. Otherwise, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. If there's any questions, yeah, as I think Kevin went through, yeah, welcome to stay in this space, ask any questions.
I'm sorry, I got late. Next session starts in 11 minutes. But happy if you'd like to reach out, you will find me on Twitter. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, Louise.
Cheers, Louise.
Good luck with your session.
Thank you.
Now I'm always thinking about Vesa Juvonen who wrote in Twitter that or Jussi Roine who wrote in Twitter that do you always like wave goodbye in the end of the meetings? Yes, you should. Yes, you should.
I think so. Yeah.
Should always
when
wait.
even Finnish people are doing that, then it's good for the rest of the world to keep that as well as an etiquette rule. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's polite.
See, now
Yeah.
I'm thinking in physical meetings, I'm going to do the same thing as I walk out the door.
As
just
you walk
to
out the
keep it
door,
natural. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
We should
Right,
also do like these fist bumps when we just enter, like.
I'm a little bit nervous of that because my surface is slightly delicately balanced to give a good angle, so it may go flying and literally go out the window if that happens.
Yeah, you wouldn't have any sympathy for that, would you?
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
So why do you need a new surface? Oh yeah, I fist bumped it out the window. Yeah. Right, I'm
Any
afraid.
excuse is good.
Yeah, I need to drop off because I have a client meeting shortly. So thank you all. That was a lot of fun. We should do it again sometime.
Good. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. I'm gonna jump as well. See you, everyone. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you very much for
Cheers.
your time, all.
Cool. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. I'll stop recording.
Okay. Cheers.